Mr. Jabari and his wife Abina moved into their new home with a mixture of excitement and relief, believing it was a perfect home to raise their two beautiful children, Omari and Ayana. The house, a large colonial-style building, had been surprisingly affordable, a blessing for the family who had saved for years to escape their cramped apartment in the city. But little did they know, their dream home would soon turn into a nightmare. The first night, the house felt cold and unwelcoming despite its size. From the moment they stepped into the house, a chill seemed to linger in the air. As they unpacked, Abina thought she saw something move in the shadows, but when she looked again, there was nothing. The family felt tensed as strange noises echoed from upstairs. Soft whispers and faint crying filled the air. Mr. Jabari dismissed it as an old house settling, but Abina, his wife, felt very disturbed and worried that something was off. As they turned in for the night, Ayana whispered to her brother Omari, "I thought I saw someone at the window earlier." Omari, trying to act brave, laughed it off, but neither of them slept well that night, with creaking sounds and faint whispers keeping them awake. Strange occurrences escalated within days. One afternoon, Omari, the eldest child, was startled by a heavy bang from his room door, which slammed shut on its own. Footsteps echoed in empty hallways, and he saw shadowy figures darting round the room. When he could not take it anymore, he ran to the gardens and would not come into the house. One night, Mr. Jabari woke up screaming, saying a cold hand had gripped his ankle. He frantically searched for who touched him, but found nobody. Abina began having vivid nightmares of a pale, gaunt woman standing at the foot of her bed, whispering in a raspy voice, "You shouldn't be here. Leave this place." She started hearing her name being called in the middle of the night, always from empty rooms. Ayana, the youngest child, gives reports of strange people visiting her in the night and trying to pin her down. Soon, the children refused sleeping in their rooms, and Ayana always pointing at the dark corners and crying, "She's there, she's there." One evening, as Mr. Jabari was fixing the sink in the kitchen, he felt a cold hand again on his shoulder. Turning quickly, he found no one there. He tried to convince himself it was just his imaginations, but the sense of being watched was constant. Despite their terror, Mr. Jabari could not afford to move his family because he had poured his entire savings into paying for the house. Moving out wasn't an option. The children began to fall ill with no clear explanation. Fever, fatigue, and sudden fainting spells plagued Omari and Ayana. Omari grew pale and thin, his eyes shadowed with fear. Ayana barely spoke, her usual laughter replaced by silent sobbing. Mr. Jabari and his wife found themselves constantly at the hospital, trying to explain their children's ailments. But no doctor could find a cause. When Abina tried to tell one doctor about the strange occurrences at home, he dismissed her with a look of pity. "The children are just stressed from the move," the doctor assured them. "Perhaps they need more time to adjust." But Abina insisted, "It's the house. There's something wrong there. I hear things. We see things." The doctor exchanged a wary glance with a nurse and replied carefully, "Maybe you're just overworked. Stress can manifest in strange ways." Mr. Jabari felt the sting of humiliation but knew they couldn't stay quiet. They had to figure out what was happening. One night, while preparing dinner, Abina felt an invisible force shove her against the wall, leaving her with bruises. She was perplexed at what just happened. Every night was a nightmare. Omari often woke to the sound of heavy breathing next to him, only to find no one there. The family waked to find furniture rearranged and strange symbols drawn in ash on the floors. The children would have strange scratches on their skin, Ayana was found one morning locked in a closet, trembling and unresponsive. They were consumed by a creeping sense of dread, knowing they were trapped in the house with a malevolent entity that seemed determined to destroy them. The family tried to seek help from a local pastor. He prayed over the house and sprinkled holy water, but as he was leaving, a sudden gust of wind knocked him down the porch steps.
"This place is cursed,"
he muttered, refusing to return. Determined to find answers, Mr. Jabari sought the advice of a local elder, Papa Tom, who was rumored to have knowledge of the supernatural. Papa Tom listened intently as Jabari recounted their experiences. "That house," Papa Tom said gravely, "was built on cursed land where human sacrifices had once been made to appease dark spirits. The innocent blood cries out. They don't want anyone there. Deaths, disappearances, and strange illness has plagued every family who lived there." Papa Tom warned, "You might have to leave." He handed Mr. Jabari a bundle of herbs and a small bottle of oil. "Burn this and pray for protection." The family did as instructed, but the spirits seemed to mock their efforts. The herbs burned out quickly, leaving behind a stench of decay. Nights became filled with terrifying screams and an oppressive sense of dread. By the 6th month, the Jabari family was hanging by a thread. Omari's health had deteriorated so much that he could barely leave his bed. Ayana refused to sleep, terrified of the figures she sees standing in the corners of her room. She would speak to invisible entities, giggling one moment and crying the next. Jabari and Abina aged visibly, their faces lined with exhaustion and despair. Every corner of the house seemed alive with evil energy, watching, waiting. Finally, the mortgage Mr. Jabari applied for came out successful. He sold his only car to afford another house. The family packed up and left without looking back. The house loomed behind them, its windows dark and menacing, as if mocking their escape. Months later, the new tenants of the house moved out within weeks, claiming to have seen shadows crawling on the walls and heard voices in the night. The Jabari family, still haunted by their experiences, but happy to have escaped with their lives,